Yes, I want to go over something I think is not totally necessary making colloidal silver. And this is something I thought about before. The difference between 4-9 silver, 99.99%, and 3-9 silver is really not that much, really. And when I ordered 4-9 silver for making colloidal silver, it actually said it was stamped that it was tested, or the certificate that came with it wasn't stamped. I mean, the certificate that came with it said it was almost like 5-9s. It had 99997. So it had 4-9s and it had a 7 after it. It was almost up to 5-9s. But I was doing some research on this and just doing a little quick arithmetic formula. It's like the difference between 4-9s and 3-9s, the amount of impurity that you would get in a mixture of colloidal silver would be like in a nothing. It would be practically nothing. And doing some research on distilled water is not even as unpure as you would think. You can get distilled water from, say, Walmart that's absolutely good enough for making colloidal silver. It costs $1, but there are some minor impurities in there. They're not going to read on a gauge. They're not going to read 1 part per million or even like that. But they are in the billions, right off the gauge. But here, I'm just going to read this little bit of research I was looking up. In refineries, all silver is processed to approximately 6-9's purity, 99.999% pure. Then a small amount of copper is added to reduce softness. If silver is not processed to near absolute purity initially, then the remaining contaminants could be problematic, and current technology best serves silver refiners to make it absolutely pure to start with. So, that's even another thing. You talk about the 4-9s Canadian maple leafs, which I think they make very high quality coins, and 3-9s Philharmonicas, or 3-9s American Eagles. I mean, really, you're talking about splitting hairs. It's ridiculous. And I think, all the refineries can actually make the silver to 4-9s. It doesn't really make it better. It's really nothing, Making silver disperses with 9939 silver only adds a few parts per billion of copper, which is really negligible. Really. You start looking up, just do some simple arithmetic. I won't even call it math. Say you have 5 parts per million, the solution of colloidal silver that you make. You're using 999 versus 4-9s, 9999. 99.9% pure versus 99.99% pure. So you got this negligible difference of 9/10,000ths difference. But if you multiply that 9/10,000ths times what actually goes into water, which is the 5 parts per million, you're talking in less than a half a part per billion in the solution. Per billion. The distilled water isn't even anywhere near that pure. It's ridiculous. I don't want to. Well, I guess I'm sticking my neck out to say this, but really, it's not even like complex math. It's arithmetic. It's common sense I don't want to call it common sense. It's simple deduction. How's that? There should actually be no problem in using 3-9 silver to make colloidal silver, as long as you're using distilled water. The difference between 3-9 silver and 4-9 silver purity is actually smaller than the purity that's in distilled water. In other words, you're getting more impurities actually you're getting billions of parts per million in the distilled water, and it's all throughout the water. Something's in it that's impure. It's not like the absolute perfect H2O, 100% pure. Because first off, it comes in a plastic container right there. It's going to have some microscopic particles of plastic in the water too. So when you're talking this difference between 3-9s and 4-9s, and that is the ingredient that's going into 5 parts per billion, you're talking like less than a 10,000th of something that may be impure. And actually, the 3-9s is usually aired on the higher side. Like even when I picked up the 4.9s, it was practically to 5.9s. So, but if you just take the straight simple arithmetic, the difference between 3.9s and 4.9s, you got 9/10,000ths of a difference. That if this was like, actually was, exact dead on numbers, if that's exactly what existed in reality, you got like less than a 10,000th of something that could be impure. Then that is what is going into the 5 parts per million. So you're talking less than half a part per billion that could be adding that much impurity to your solution, which is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I mean, you're breathing polluted air worse than that. You're drinking water like 100 times worse than that. I mean, it's beyond ridiculous. I think the most important thing is to make sure you use like at least 3.9 silver. You don't use like something like sterling. I mean, that would be stupid. Because then you're talking not like a 10,000th of a part of that could possibly be impure. You're talking 7.5%. That's a major difference. And make sure you use distilled water. But there should actually be no problem using 3.9s in making colloidal silver. I mean, maybe somebody will say, "Oh yeah, it's responsible for me saying this," but just figure it out. Just do the math. I mean, math, arithmetic. It's not even respected to be called math. It's such a minute difference, it's beyond ridiculous. And you know that distilled water is nowhere near made to like purity of billions of it, billions parts per billion. There's nothing in there at all. The damn stuff comes in a plastic container, for crying out loud. So, just as a survival tip, pretty obviously you're not going to turn blue by making colloidal silver with 3.9 silver versus 4.9s. And it actually tells you that every single coin you have in stock, you can make colloidal silver with very safely as long as you're using distilled water. They don't even have to be Canadian maple leafs. So, I'm going to pass this tip on because I don't think anybody passes it on. But it's like ironclad, simple arithmetic and deduction. I mean, it's not like... And I'm just surprised it hasn't been pointed out before, because I was thinking about this for quite some time. And, it shouldn't make that much of a difference. Just remember, even the pioneers used to throw a silver dollar, which has even higher copper content, into the water to preserve it. It's really splitting hairs that aren't necessary. So... you don't need Canadian maple leafs to make colloidal silver safely. You just need the distilled water and 3.9s. That's really all that is required. And I just think that's just an important tip to know.